Okay, hope this is working. Well, I have this Akai Force that I picked up from Fleabay for about £235. Now, it was sold to me as not working, and it's an accurate description. So the faults listed were that it didn't work as a USB device, and it also the internal sound card was reported as not working, and so the guy's had it before, has been using it with an external sound card, and that was his recommended way of using it. Now, I did see in the listing, I could see the photo that this connector was actually damaged. So I guess that's hopefully why why it's not working as a USB device. And I've gambled. I haven't actually opened this up yet, but I've gambled that that this is a suitable replacement connector. I hope the pinout matches. We'll find out. And on the audio not working, I can get some output on it, but it's pretty distorted. So just switch the amp on. If we play one of the demo tracks, it's quite level dependent. You can hear it farting and clicking. It sounds a bit to me like we've perhaps lost a power rail, would be my guess. But I guess we'll have to open it up and see. So fast forward the opening up sequence. Better switch it off first, though. Yes, we do want to shut down my force. May the force be with you. I don't know I've made that joke before. Alright, so flip it over. Now this does have an SSD in. It's a pretty small one. It's only a 120 gig, I think. So yeah, so I've got an Akai MPC Key 37. I'm pretty chuffed with that. I really like it. It's got lots. I've spent quite a lot of money on the various plugins, and the synth plugins are quite good. You know, they ain't analog, but pretty usable, and the sampling is pretty brilliant actually, and I like the workflow. Doesn't have enough memory. Always running out of memory. I know some people say, oh, the Akai's got plenty of memory, 2 gigs, who needs more than 2 gigs? But once you start multi-sampling instruments, you use up those 2 gigs pretty darn fast, let me tell you. If you're doing boom bap and sampling 10 seconds of some crufty old vinyl, yeah, 2 gigs is loads. But for multi-instrument, multi-sampled instrument stuff, nah. So I've actually bought, I saw that somebody calling himself Goat or something has been upgrading Akai's. It's a pretty intense bit of work. It's some, ball grid array, pretty fine pitch, 4 chips, and yeah, not for the faint of heart. So I've done rework like that level before, but it's still pretty scary on something you're using quite a lot. And I'm in a band at the moment, or at least the start of a new band. Do we need to take the feet off? Maybe we don't need to take the feet off. Let's make sure we're on torque so I don't wind the thread off of that. So I'm actually using the Key 37 quite a lot. So I can really do without breaking it. I think Goatman, or whatever his name is, charges about $270, and you've got to post the whole box for him. Actually, he doesn't want boards posted now. What do you think we've got to do here? We've got to undo all these back panel threads. Where does that come off? Probably we do. Yeah, looks like it. Alright, I haven't got my pliers. Got the wrong pliers. Oh dear. Not the right pliers to be doing this with. Luckily they're just plastic ones and not very tightly done up. I'm guessing we have to do this. I'm not sure. I've never seen one of these come apart. It looks like that metal panel's one piece at the bottom, doesn't it? Yeah, so he's charged about $270, and actually the RAM chips cost me £60 through authorised distribution. You can get them cheaper on AliExpress, Chinese, or some other Chinese supplier, but I bought chips from AliExpress before and it's a bit hit and miss. Bought some BBDs, some bucket brigade delays, and they were either totally fake or knackered, and they did not bucket brigade delay at all. There was no BBD action. So I feel a bit stung, and what I wouldn't want to do, you know, maybe with a dill IC that you can plug in and find that it's broken and unplug again. Not such a biggie, but resoldering 4 ball grid arrays with 100 odd pins each, or 80 pins or something, and then finding that they're duff. Don't really want to do that. Now, how does that come off then? It looks sort of free. Looks like these XLRs have got a something catheter maybe. Oh, a bit more oomph, that's all. We're in. Put the lid down over there. Right, let's see what we can see. Look at that, it's got an micro SD card on this one. The MPC Key 37 does not. Something a bit crusty looking there. I need my magnifying hat to have a good look at this. Are these lights on, Max? No. Turn the lights up. Give us a chance of seeing it. So, look at that, a little 16 gig micro SD. I wonder if that's the internal storage, and if we can upgrade it, the internal storage, just by sticking a new slot. And it looks a bit like there's maybe some liquid damage here, or that might have been part of the production process. So first thing we got to do is that USB 3 socket there. So we've got to remove this PCB here and replace that. I'm slightly hopeful that maybe there's just a loose connection that's causing that audio distortion, but I don't know, maybe that's wishful thinking. Very dodgy mod there. If that's a factory mod, if you can see that. Let me switch the autofocus on the camera on. I had to switch it off because it fades in and out otherwise. Where's that? Where's the camera control gone? I lost it. Anyway, let me see if I can do a digital zoom on OBS. Sorry guys, bear with me. I'm not that good with streaming. Maybe I'll cut this bit out. Video capture device. Logi zoom. How do we zoom in on this? Not very clear. still not very clear. It's a bit of dodgy zoom, bit of a dodgy mod around here somewhere. Just looks a bit flaky to me. Is that a factory mod? Not sure. Bit of flux evidence around there as well. I don't know if that's poor production. Anyway, right. Let's go back to normal view. Zoom in a little bit. All right. So I'm going to take this board out. It looks like there's quite a lot of these FPCs, so I'm going to be careful not to tear them. Let me take that off. I think this one, some of these have got the processor on a separate carrier board, and others are integrated. So the MPC Key 37, the processor's kind of soldered onto the one big main board in there, which makes it harder to mod, and I guess that's why Gateman charges more for those devices. Understandably, you know, it's a bigger risk. Bigger thing to cock up. What is that? No, is that a factory mod? I've just seen something pretty horrid there. Try and zoom in again. Where are we here? Crufty bodge diode on there. Maybe someone's been in this machine before. If that's a factory mod, then I'm a bit disappointed with you, Akai. I mean, that's all very well for getting something out the door, but wouldn't want to see that on a production unit, really, would you? Alright, well, feels like the board's kind of free other than the connectors. So let's see if we can remove the board. There's FPCs in the way. What else have we got? We've got this. It should just come off. And this should come off. And then this big buffer here, which goes all the way down to the front panel. That is a crafty mod there. What has someone done? That looks, well, it's almost certainly a diode. But where does that go? Oh, be careful of those FPCs. Oh, some of them are so fine pitch, those FPCs. Okay, so these all seem to be USB hubs. What's that? That's marked as touch. This is a USB hub. And then USB hub 2, which seems unpopulated at the moment. That's curious, isn't it? Interesting. I'll get to show you on the camera in a minute. I see. So those, it's this one's the really dodgy one. Okay, that's the touch FPC out the way. It looks like they might be longer length on these FPCs than they are initially allowing me. I just want to be extra careful that I don't rip them. SATA connector there coming off. That's got a locking mechanism on it. Oh, there we go. And then that one. And then the Wi-Fi antenna's self-disconnected. That one. And then that one. Right. Now we have freed the main board. Debug header. LVDS. What do you think that's for? Is that maybe another display? USB hub 3. Ah, it's always interesting looking at these things. This one says battery. This connector. Oh, that's curious, isn't it? I think they were going to do one with a battery. Or maybe this is the same carrier for the Live 2. I haven't seen one of those. Got the SDMMC slot there. And a recovery button. All right. Well, so does the connector that I've bought, that I've now lost, where's that gone? What have I done with that? Oh, rats. Ah, there it is. Does that look like the right pinout? Can we get lucky today? Yeah, looks correct. Looks good. You see that? Oh, there's a lot of delay in this camera. See, that looks like it's going to be the right pin out, I think. So, got to take this EMC strip off. Stick that up there for now. And then we've got to remove this USB 3 connector with a very, very, very tiny little protection device there. Such a delay in this. Am I not in the middle? Where's the middle? Can you see that? Not very clear, is it? Need a better camera. Like and subscribe, and maybe I can afford a better camera. Perhaps we shouldn't do zoom. Put the pulsating autofocus on. Maybe that's going to give us a better result. No. Ah, useless. That autofocus pump is just annoying, isn't it? What? Alright. Let's see if we can get that off. Up with the irons. to about 370. First I'm going to put some leaded solder on here, just to kind of heat things up a bit. Maybe I'll go up a bit more. Let's hit it up to 410. A lot of the heat's going away down the ground plane there. Blob a bit on there. I need to be careful not to. My head's in the way, isn't it? Sorry about that. Careful not to disturb that little protection diode there. I hope that one's not knackered. It's quite tricky to replace those. So what we need to do is somehow get loads of heat into the area we need. So what would be the best thing? I'll get that on there. And it's going to mash into that, isn't it? I think we might do the kind of wire trick. If I can get a fat wire on there, and join them all up, and then just heat it and squeak it off. Find fat wire. Still visible in the corner. I am just about. There we go. Right, knife, fat wire. Get some copper out of the fat wire. Long enough? Maybe need a bit longer than that. This is very fat wire, maybe too fat. The big wire cutters have all left in the garage. These are the biggest ones I've got. Get that around like that. So let's see if we can join that all together. Now what I wonder if we can just, let's go in with, might reach there, yeah, alright, use my funky tweezers. Let's hit them up to about 400 as well. Flat screwdriver, give some pressure under that. Need at least 3 hands to do this. I can't hold it in my mouth. I'll poke that with my thumb. Ah. Ah! Right, that's nearly off. How far off are we? Oh, still those bits. Move that plastic out of the way. Alright, what's going on there? Just the back pins are still dripping on a bit. The front's all off. A bit hot now to hold on to. Very gently. Off it comes. There we go. All off. Now, I wonder what was that that's stuck over there? Another sort of socket on the side there. I wonder what that was going to be. It looks like an HDMI plug, that. In music, PCB, April 18, 2018 dated. Yeah, it looks like it was an HDMI connector under that sticker. But there's lots of parts not fitted. I guess it had an HDMI output at one point. That's fun. Right, let's clean them holes up. Oh, why isn't that working? There's a big bit of ground plane there. One hole. Two hole. Clogged up sucker. Three hole. Four hole. Let's turn the temperature down a little. I'm going to burn the pads off. It needed the higher temperature because there's a thermal resistance on the onto that big pad. Why is my locking mechanism for that not really working at the moment? It's been a nuisance, that middle one. In fact, that's on the ground. Oh, I'm going to damage that pad if I'm not careful. That is not going well, that one. I'll try that from the other side in a minute. Just that middle one remaining. being a nuisance. Why is this locking thing stopping working? I'll have to stop and fix that now. In the middle of fixing this. Yay, clear. Right, old socket with broken plastic. New socket, not broken plastic. Pin out looks good. Gently poke it in the hole. There we go. That's in. Fully in. Let's do one pin and just align it. Pressure just to hold it down. And solder it on. Give it a little clean. Second clean. Okay, well, that's job number one. Looks all right. Got the sticky thingy back on. It's not very sticky now. Sticky enough. Now, what's this evil mod here? 19 volt V wall. That says, so that. What on earth's that then? And that's definitely some crafty repair at some point. Can't quite see. The name of the part. Let's try and clean it a little bit. And it's almost certainly a diode, but J19V plus wall. What could that be? It sounds like it's from the whoa dear, don't want that to happen. Screwdriver bits falling out. where does that go? Spaghetti junction under there. I think the MPC key 37's a bit more nicely laid out. I don't know where that goes. It's not easy to work on, is it, this thing? Because it's all upside down. So if I want to get this operational again, I've got to sort of put it all back together, and then I won't be able to get my probes on anything for diagnostics. So there's this big fat connector that seems to go to this front panel board, so that might be a method of attack. We got this. Are we still zoomed in? Got this dodgy mod here. That I am not convinced is factory. Let me have a look at this board. So I did check the headphone output as well, and it was similarly distorted, which might suggest that it could be an analog rail still. The sort of distortion we're getting sounds a bit like we've only got one rail running. What's that? Oh, that's the SD card reader. Let's take that SD card out. So that probably connects via USB. It's probably it seems that like USB is the thing that feeds everything around everywhere in this device. There's nothing wrong with that, but interesting approach. Oh, look at that. We've got so plus VAF, minus VAF, and then this weird diode or something across it. That looks very suspicious, but why would someone have put that on there? That does not look like a factory mod. That looks like a crafty bodge. Interesting. And then we've got listed down here. So those are the power supplies here, which has got that weird connector across it. And where does that power supply come from? Somewhere under here. What is this board? SuperCap PCB. Why does it need a SuperCap PCB? Curious. From 2017. Let's see what's on SuperCap. I reckon you could fit a battery in here. A slim one. Oh my word. That's why it's called the SuperCap PCB. Why does it need all that? That is bonkers. There's from battery. That's weird, isn't it? They're 2.5 volt caps. Probably still charged. They're massive. What is that? That's crazy. Perhaps that could have been a battery. Yeah, still got a volt across there. Wow. What a weird thing. That's completely bizarre. So that the power for this board is still under here. So perhaps we need to take this off and have a look. Getting a bit down the rabbit hole now, aren't we? But we started, so hey, why not carry on? That's quite interesting, isn't it, seeing here? One more in the middle. Will I remember to put all these back in when it goes back together? Right. Anything obvious on this board? So this board looks very analogy. We've got an AKM AK 52 in there. That's presumably maybe the ADC actually. AK 52. Let's just look that up just for the giggles. Got that right? Yeah. Wow. Ooh, posh one. Quite decent quality DAC that. Where's that? That comes off of there, right. Some switching power supplies. 19 volts goes straight in here. And what do we think we've got? Very handy silkscreen labels. Panel, a lot of what are the op amps in here? 4580s. Yeah, we got the. So that's the analog power to that front board. So what we might need to do now is I want to see if we've got both rails, because the sort of sound I'm hearing would be the kind of sound I would expect if, for example, the negative rail was dead. And that's why we hear such a high level of distortion, because we only got like one side. DAC-L, DAC-R. So maybe is that the DAC perhaps on here? It's 4454. It sounds like an AKM part number. It is. It's AK 4454. Pretty decent little DAC. And so one of these switches might be down, or we might have a dead op amp that's killing the rail. I might just have a bad connection, but it's hard to see that in this sea of many connectors. Right, I have to put the super cat board. That's so weird. What the hell is that? It's got a switching converter on. We've got slow, fast, SCL and SDA, so we've got digital interface, ground, discharge and charge. Well, that's really, really weird. Wonder why it needs that. Post in the comments if you've got any ideas why. And that was the, I guess that goes to this battery connector. Alrighty then, let's try and put some of this back together enough that we can then check the analog rails that are supposed to be coming in on this here I/O board. And inspect again this very suspicious little component here across the POS and neg rails. So if that's gone short, for example, don't know what would happen. I guess one rail would win. And it looks like it's a 3-terminal device, so maybe it's stopping the rail from, you know, sometimes you've got a reverse bias diode that makes sure that the rail never goes in the wrong direction compared to ground, so maybe that's what that's for. But if that's died and has just taken the rail down, it could be that that's heating up. Okay, this is a bit of a palaver to put it all back together, isn't it? So let's begin with, does that go under? That goes around there, does it? Oh, it's a bloody nuisance. These are a pain. Be careful not to have a sudden spasm and rip the connectors. That would be really unfortunate, having to wait for, I don't even, these look pretty standard, but sometimes you can't get the right lengths. Like this bit of EMC business here, I guess they had some EMC issues. Stuck a load of ferrites on it, yay! That's how to solve it. Hey, if it passes, it passes. I don't know how much to rebuild this now. Now, which one was that one? That one was there. And then that one was there. Is that USB hub? There's only, doesn't look like there's a spare USB hub on this. I did wonder on the Key 37 if I could put an internal SSD drive in it using a USB to SATA adapter. There must be a spare USB port in there somewhere. Now, what about this super cap? Do you think we need that? Why do we need that? I'll never get these wires back in the right place, will I? And then what was this one? Where did that go? That was there. Is that it? I think that's it. Let's put 1 or 2 screws back in, eh? Well, that's not quite the quick fix I was hoping. So that might have been unnecessary, all that dismantling, if it does turn out to be this board down here. I'm still very suspicious of this piece here. Don't look right to me. I'm powering this off a bench supply, so at least I can monitor the input current. It should be about 700 milliamps if all is well. That looks okay. I'm just going to put a... Is that a... Oh, I see, yeah. Let's put a screw in on here. On the other side. I hope I don't have to take that board out again. Are they the right screws there? I've got a feeling they weren't. No, that doesn't feel right. There were some of these bigger screws, weren't they? Alright, I'm just going to measure on the... I'm going to bolt that in for now and measure on the back of this. Okay, scary moment. Plugging it back in. Hope it don't go bang. 20 volts going in the back of this thing. Okay, looks good. One amp, that's probably about right as it boots. It's starting up, got Force written on the screen. Yeah. Right, let's measure the voltage. Oh, yeah, that's just a ground. That one, the wrong one. Let's swap these over. Over so you can see. What have we got on that pin? Nothing. What about on this pin? Oh. That's really weird. No analog voltage. Really? Is this meter not working? They're connected. Maybe that's not really ground. Let's find a different ground. That looks like it might be ground, do you think? Maybe? Or that one at the end looks like ground. How bizarre. But if I go on, what's definitely going to be ground? I can't remember what was ground now on that board. Let's have a look. See, there was definitely a pin that was ground, wasn't there? Ground ref. I suppose you could measure across the power supplies and see if there's any voltage across them at all. So what do we see? Okay, 13 volts. Alright. Well, that's sort of believable. Except we got 14 on that one and 0.8 on that, and that is supposed to be minus volts, so maybe my hunch is right. I wonder if we've got anything getting hot. Let's see if the double camera's charged. Trusty Fleur. Booting. So sorry I can't share this image with you. That oil pump's getting a bit warm, but nothing too bad. So we definitely got a missing negative rail. There's a question in my mind about whether that's... So it's about 0.8 volts, isn't it? So it is like a diode drop away. And that looks really crufty to me, that. So I'm going to switch this off and see, investigate that part a bit more. I need to shut it down, don't we? Shutting down. Discharging supercaps. Okie dokie. And I mean, this looks like it might just be a diode that stops it. You know, stops the voltage, the negative voltage going positive, and the positive voltage going negative. But let me see what it is. Really crufty mod. I mean, there's like flux all over the place. My flux cleaner gone. I suppose what we could do, I wonder if this board will run, I wonder if the machine will run with this unplugged. And these are 25 volt caps, so I expect it's supposed to be plus or minus 15 rails. I can't even, oh, what's that? It says JB. Measuring the diode drop across there, so, and how does it compare to the other side? Pretty similar actually, so maybe it's not that part. But what we could do is power it up without that connected and see if we've got more volts across that now, and then we could isolate whether it's this board so we go back to volts mode. No, so we've still got 13 volts there. So there's a problem with the power supply at the other end. I'm going to rudely pull the plug on this thing. Or am I going to? No, I'm not. I'm going to. Oh, too lazy to wait for it to boot. Don't boot. Perhaps I can stop it booting. If I take the SD card out, do you think it will stop booting? Don't really need it to boot. One of your plug-in content folders could not be found. Oh, that's probably because I've not got the SD card plugged in. I mean the SSD. Okay, so suspicion now points to this board with the power supplies on, and we'll see if we can find which of those. Let's take off the super cap, trying not to short out the super cap board on any metal items. You might be minded to put some tape on that. So, oh dear, be careful with those FPCs. We fold that over now. Yes, we can, but we need some insulating item, like that jiffy bag. So, VA minus. So maybe one of these switches makes the minus rail. Don't see any puffy caps particularly. Sorry about my head being in the way. Right, so what did that power? Did that power anything else? No, it just went to there. So I think we can power this up now. And maybe have a poke about. So each of these switches should have some volts on it. And if we find one that doesn't, it may be the culprit. So I need a good ground somewhere again. Where did I find a nice ground before? A nice easy ground that I don't have to worry that I'm going to slip off and short something out. Is that grounded? Let's just beat that out. Okay, so we could get on there, that's not too bad. Alright, are we clear? Let's have a look. Nothing shorting. Let's go for it. It might get unhappy, I suppose. So, measuring volts. Nothing on there. What's there nothing on there for? Well, that's not a good start, is it? 6 volts there-ish. 3.2. 7.3. Yeah, it says it's a 7 volt rail. 3.2 rail. Another 7 volt, that's a bit weird. What about this one? Nothing. Ah, but there is from that. What's that then? -8. But I thought those were. That was a ground. Maybe that's not a good ground. It's got 8 volts across it. -13 volts. -13. That's -13 as well. That's weird. I thought the -13 was what we were missing. There's the ground on the end, isn't there? Okay, now that's definitely on a ground, and there's nothing across there. So, it could be that this is knackered, or it might be that it's seeing short. Something's getting hot there. Yeah, that little switcher's getting hot. That little chip there. So it could be that it's struggling valiantly to do something. A3901, what is that? It's not finger scorching hot. It'd be helpful to have a schematic for this. Alright, let's power off again. I'm going to rudely power it off. It's going to moan at me next time, isn't it? So, I suppose an interesting question is, does this relate to that negative rail at all? It should be this one. Not directly. It is, yeah. Okay. Trouble with these things, if you've got a direct short somehow. No, we don't seem to have a direct short, I don't think. We might have a blown part that's holding the rail down. So I'm going to search for A3901 regulator. See if we find anything what that is. something called an 3901. It's got about it's got a sort of right number of pins. No, it's a motor driver, that dual full bridge low voltage motor driver. Don't think that can be it. Well, I wouldn't have thought so anyway. Doesn't look like the right package. What's this? F30AF. Right, so that looks like it's a simple switcher. 36 volt, that's this part here, the marking on it is F30AF. Looks like it's an LMR 23630. Now a TI part. Not a lot to it. But I'm not sure how that's relating to this reg here, as it seemed as though that was what was connected. This pin here was connected to the negative rail, and not really connected here. Very strange. Looking at the A3901, I'm looking to find is that it's a dual full bridge low voltage motor controller, which is very, very unlikely to be used here, isn't it? I mean, I wondered if they'd reused it for some sort of, just because they had some MOSFETs or something in it, but I can't imagine why you'd pick that in a million years. So there must be some other device with A3901 marking. An AX3901, which is a step down DC-DC converter. it's got fewer pins than this one. 3901 marking, a TPS 63901. Buck boost converter with input current limit. I don't know. This is 5-volt input range. It's not quite what I was expecting. Packet chip scale package. That's not that. That's not this. No. It's like a tiny BGA. That's not this. TPS 7A3901, that's the right package. IC Reg Linear Pos Neg. Ooh. That sounds like it. DigiKey list it. It's a Texas Instruments part. Yeah, this looks like it. Okay, so that's a little linear reg. So we're expecting, I mean, that seems perfectly reasonable to me. I've certainly done that sort of thing before. You have a switcher as a pre-reg and then a little linear reg, and this makes perfect sense. It would be getting a little warm. So the key thing that we need to look at is, does it have the correct inputs? Because if it doesn't have a negative voltage already as an input, then it's not going to be able to make it as an output, because it's a linear reg, so all it can do is basically, you know, waste energy as heat. And if I can find the pinout, looking through the data sheet. Okay, so I've got a sort of a layout diagram here. So where's the input out? VFBP buff. Okay, so looking for in N, in an egg. In P, in N is that side. So we've got an output side and an input side. So this is the output side, which is why this is connected to the negative rail there. This is the input side, and we're supposed to have some sort of negative volts on this lower pin here. So where does that lower pin connect to? It looks like it comes around here. So it is looking like this reg we suspected was dead. The inductor seems alright, it's conductive. So there's this simple switcher here. Let's see if we've got any shorts across the caps. Doesn't seem like we do. So my money's still on this chap here, I think, and this might be okay. But let's measure again the input. So we're going to switch it back on one more time. And I'm going to get on a ground. And I'm going to try on that pin there. Oh, minus 15 is on there. Wow. But minus 8 on the output. So this switcher is good. So it's possible this regulator is knackered. We've only got 8.9 volts on the output. That's probably not enough to heat anybody up. So somebody on here might be knackered, and one of the op amps possibly causing some bother to that rail. Is there anything that's particularly hot on here? That one's a bit hot. Anybody hotter than anybody else? Well, that one is hot. That's like 46 degrees, that one. What about under there? What's that? Another approach is we could apply some aggressive minus volts and see what happens. Quite inclined to do that. If we put like minus 3 volts or something, or 2 volts, it shouldn't blow anything up, or nothing that's not already blown up. And we might be able to see on the thermal camera who's getting hot. Yeah, it's getting a bit hot. That op amp seems a bit hotter than the others. that's doing that one. There's a bit hot as well. What's that? It seems unlikely that it's... I mean, normally what blows up is the thing connected to the pins. You know, they get an ESD event or someone sticks mains up the output. But I'm not seeing it, but it does look like, I mean, that rail seems to be pulled down and that's gone into thermal limit, I guess, that regulator. So maybe we could help it a bit with another bit of power supply on a bit of a current limit and see if we can highlight the problem. So what we need is some jumper wires. Go on there? No. Of course not. That's annoying. Okay. So this was our neg rail here. So I have that as white. I can get in there. Might be better if it was laying down actually. A bit less leverage. Damage that cap. And then what we need is a ground that we can solder onto. So that is definitely a ground there. Where's a ground around here? Okay, that's a ground. So pop it on there. Okay, I need to employ another power supply. Right, so I've got a couple of volts with a current limit. I can clip onto that once it's up and running. So I need to start this up first because I don't want to... Oh, let's have that out of the way. Anything else here that I need to clear? I think that's all right. So let's get the camera going and let's see if I add on to that. What do we get? A current limit at 30 milliamps. So camera's gone off, typical. Not looking that bad actually. Let's go up to 7 volts and it's only 80 milliamps. Very strange. So that sort of suggests that it's that reg then. Yeah, maybe it's this reggy. Because he's tolerating -7 on the output. No bother. Wow, there we go. It's a bit hard to operate it like this with its guts hanging out. I can't really play any sound on it. But I'm guessing the sound would sort of work now. So I think it must be that regulator. Well, there we go. To order one of those. Can't remember what it was now. What was it? It was a TPS 7A39. 150 milliamp. Let's see who can sell me one of those. Mauser DigiKey, no problem, but I don't want to pay the postage. Nothing else there, is there? Unless there's a feedback resistor blown or something. Let me just check the data sheet one more time in case there's any other surrounding components. Maybe I can swing some samples from TI, save me the postage, although I think they often charge me the postage now, last time I did this. Bypass that for now and just have noisy output while we check the rest of the machine. TPS 7A3901. there's a couple of feedback resistors to the buff pin. But there's not a lot else to it. It's all in the box. It's possible I could maybe find another part and bodge it on. That's a bit of a bodge. But it can't drop a lot of power, can it? It's a pretty teeny weeny package. So if the output voltage is 15, we should have 10k and 115k or thereabouts. What have we got around there? Yeah, they're not really very obvious what they are. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Left that connected is not a very good idea. Got 10k there. And that's going up to about 115, 120k there, something like that, which is about what we'd expect to set that at minus 15. So the upshot is it's that reg. Is it worth a crufty bodge for now just to get it going? We do a capacitor multiplier or something on there. I've got a 7815 or something. That board. Something very similar with some AD parts on a board I've got a few of. changes now. Pause the recording for now. Oh, maybe I'll leave it go. Just looking at the schematic of a board I built a while ago that could have a part on it that might be usable. Not sure I did in the end. Did I do another local rig? Pretty sure I did. Maybe I just use really fast switching inverters and relied on the passives. Oh no, there we go. ADP 7182. Definitely in the right ballpark. it's a bit of an awkward package unless there's a PCB. I think they're better than the one that's on there, performance-wise. But not going to need to squeeze one on there. What else might I have? A resistor might do the job. What was it pulling? Let's fire it back up and see what the current consumption is roughly. At -15. Oh. Not doing anything now. What's happened here? Okay. That's about 80 milliamps. So if we're only going to drop bedtime. So 10 ohm might drop a volt or so, and then yeah, so 10 ohm will probably do the job. I'll stick a 10 ohm resistor over there and see it between the switcher output and the maybe the super caps will filter it out. Not that it's on that little circuit. Right. Old school 10 ohm resistor. Let's pull that plug. And I can't see because I've lost my hat. Come on, Iron, wake up. Left that on, it's a rookie error. Where's that input coming from? Is it there? Let's just double check. So we know what we're doing. We're going to solder from that point. Is it that one as well? Right, moment of truth. Let's see if this works. Ish. Or if it all blows up. At 15 volts. Okay, might be a bit noisy. That might be absolutely fine. Right, let's just order one of those bits, a replacement TPS. A 100 of them from AliExpress for 17 quid. Delivery not till June. Farnell got them. No, slightly different one. That doesn't look like it's in the same package, unfortunately. Right, oh well, I'm going to pop this back together and we'll see if the whole thing works now. It's all a lot of gubbins in here, isn't it? It's a nuisance to put together. I suppose we should check if this if it works with this board on. Perhaps we can do that once we put some of the screws back in and gamble on it working. Is that all there? That needs to go onto there. Lost the screwdriver under the mess now, that one might do. Well, that's taken a lot longer than I thought. Found a real broken part. Should probably put a few screws in, turn it over and see if the audio works now. My hunch was right though, it was a neg rail down, which is what it sounded like to me, having heard many faults, various things, normally my own doing. Those were bigger screws on that one, weren't they? I don't want to trap these wires either. Check that I haven't pulled any connectors out. So interesting things, we could upgrade the SD card if we wanted to on this, although I suppose that's less enticing on this unit because it can actually take an SSD. Didn't check whether the CPU, I'm pretty sure the CPU's on a carrier board on this. So the actual microprocessor pops out on a little removable card that you can deal with separately rather than having to work on this whole board. So if you're going to upgrade the RAM, that does make it a bit easier. Still a tricky job. I don't know if I'm going to like the workflow on the MPC. I mean this Force compared to the standard MPCs. I really quite liking the standard MPCs. Had a lot of fun with that. But I'm quite interested in the sort of click-based workflow of the Force, but I didn't want to spend a lot of money on it, hence buying this knackered one. Where did they come from? Was that? Should I take those out of there? Come right done. Those obviously didn't need to come out. I wasn't paying attention to the arrows. Oh, there aren't any arrows in that. I took out even more screws than I needed to. Truth and get some audio going. Where's the other plug gone for that? Well, one channel will do. Moment of truth. Yay! Audio's working. Oh, I haven't tested the USB interface, have I? Must try that. mess. Hopefully I can go in via this hub over the back. Whoops. Is that connected? Don't know how to tell. Don't know what it's supposed to show up as. I'm not seeing it. That's a shame. I wonder what it's supposed to show up as. Direct enough, let's try that. No, it's not seeing it. That's bizarre. Wonder why. It's a nuisance. Stereo. Just check all the connections, I suppose. It's on that main board, isn't it?
looks perfect.
That's the wrong screw in there. That belongs in here. Pretty sure I had a problem with this one, but doing the same thing. Let's try it with this cable. It's not seeing the USB. That is annoying. Okay, well, I'm going to finish it there. It was a bit of a mammoth session. We fixed some bits. We've, well, sort of at least diagnosed the problem with the voltage regulator and botched it for now. Can order a new reg. Not sure why the USB doesn't seem to be working. Clearly the connector is attached perfectly fine, so it's possible something electrical was damaged, I guess. So we might have to look at that again, but at least the audio output's working, headphone output. I can listen to it, sounds alright. There's probably some high frequency noise maybe that's creeping through. It might manifest when doing sampling perhaps, but that'd be fun to have a go with and mess around with and understand the workflow a bit better. So that's all for now. I'm going to sign off because I started this over 2 hours ago and it's bedtime. So don't have nightmares about voltage regulators, and might do a follow-up on this when I get the new regulator, or if I can find out a bit more about the USB fault. That's all for now. All for now. Night night. Too tired.